Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Living in Switzerland. The series is brought to you by Rigby. We are a staffing and project services company based in Zurich. If you or anyone you know of is looking for a new role in Switzerland, or if you're looking to hire, let us know. We'd be happy to help. The best way to do that is by going to rigby.ch/apply and filling out the form. Then, if we have anything that might be of interest, we'll gladly let you know. Today, we are joined by Katy Romy. Katy has been working as a journalist at Swissinfo since 2015. She works as a correspondent at the Federal Palace and covers politics for the Swiss abroad. She lives in Bern, but originally comes from the French-speaking part of Canton Bern, the Bernese Jura. Katy, welcome to the show.
Hi.
So let's start by you telling us just a little bit about yourself and your work with Swissinfo.
Yes, as you said, I've been working at Swissinfo since 10 years now. And maybe one word about Swissinfo, it's the SBC international platform, which is in 10 languages. And we provide information about Switzerland, but for an audience. And I'm working as a correspondent at the Federal Palace, which means I cover federal politics for the Swiss abroad, which is our target audience.
Yeah, and it's a very big target audience, isn't it? It's 800,000 people or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So a lot of people all around the world, which are reading Swissinfo or listening to our podcast or watching our video. Like we are multimedia platform.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and I personally use it a lot as well because I'm also a Swiss abroad, of course.
Yeah,
And
you
yeah,
are our target audience actually.
absolutely. Yes, exactly. So, where in Switzerland do you live? You said you're in Bern now, is that right?
Yes, it's right. So I come from the French-speaking part of Canton Bern, but I've been living in Bern, the country's capital, for several years now. Yeah, and I really like the city of Bern because it offers all the possibilities of a capital city while still close to the nature. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a very small capital city, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
take a lot of time to get out into the countryside, but you still have all those city things to enjoy.
yeah. I think it could be considered as a village from outside perspective. I think it's very
Yes,
small.
like in England, it might be considered a smaller town and not a big city, but yeah. So obviously, I'm also from Bern. What would you suggest if someone who hasn't visited Bern yet, what should they start with? What should they do? Maybe things that aren't so evident or anything you can suggest?
Yeah, as we said, the city of Bern is quite small, but there are quite a few interesting things to visit. I would visit the Federal Palace, which is the home of the Swiss Parliament. And yeah, I think it's possible to book a guided tour, or you
Right.
have to book a guided tour. I think that's quite interesting. Or you can discover the old town. You can walk under the arches of the old town. I think it's very nice and can
Mm.
also be impressive for someone who doesn't know Bern.
Yeah, they're very convenient, these arches, aren't they? Because you stay
But
dry even in the
yeah,
winter, even in wet weather. You can go
very
shopping
convenient
or,
when it's raining.
yeah. What about in the summer?
In the summer, one thing that is often fascinating, I think, for people from abroad is that we can swim in the river that runs through the city in the summer. So yeah, I think that's quite nice. Some people even say we swim to work in the river, but that's not really the case. We go after work.
Yeah, I think most people would go and have a dip after work. So
Yeah,
some people, maybe the ones who don't mind the cold so much, might go in the morning when it's still a little bit colder than when the sun is
yes.
out.
Yeah, actually there are also people going in the winter, but yeah,
Oh yeah.
it, it's quite fashionable at the moment to go
Oh
also in the
yeah.
winter, but yeah, I don't do
But
it.
you have to, yeah, you have to go consistently then, don't you? You can't just one day decide in December, I want to start swimming now. You have to do it through the autumn and get used to the colder temperatures.
Yeah, I think you have like a strategy to be able to do that.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the famous bear pit.
Yeah, that's also an interesting thing to look at. And yeah, be, before when I was small, it was just a pit.
Hmm.
And now it's a park with a lot of trees and water, which is much better for the animals. Before
Yes,
it was a bit sad to see these bears in a pit with nothing. Yeah, it was not really nice.
yes, but now they have their own section of the river even, and it's a much
Yeah,
bigger
no,
habitat, isn't it?
yeah, I think they have happy life now.
Better, yeah. Which means then that you can't always see them. Sometimes they're hidden, but that's good for them.
Yeah, yeah. But in the summer, you can definitely see them. They are around. Yeah,
Yes, they'll be more active.
yeah,
All right, so you work, obviously, you report on politics a lot, right?
that's right.
Um, so one important thing that happened recently is that late last year, Switzerland reached an agreement with the EU. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that could have a lot of implications for the future, couldn't it, for
Yeah,
Switzerland?
yeah. That's really a big topic for Switzerland at the moment, and also for the next years. What can be said is that the very existence of an agreement can already be seen as a success
Mm.
because a solution has sometimes seemed impossible, especially after the Swiss government stopped the negotiation in 2021. So yeah, it's already good that we have an agreement, but it's not finished yet. Next year, the parliament will have to debate this package of agreements. And yeah, it means that the government will have to convince the two chambers, which
Hmm.
will not be an easy task. And then a popular vote will have to take place, but it will probably not happen before 2028.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it's a long way to go.
It's a long process.
Yes.
Okay. And so basically, the idea is that first the government agrees on it, and then the people have the final say.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know
That's
what I
correct.
can say more about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, but it will take times because also there are already some opposition.
Okay.
There are two main areas of oppositions. The most important is maybe the right-wing Swiss People's Party, which is against any closer ties with the EU.
Oh, yeah.
And we also have the trade unions, which are concerned about protecting the Swiss wages.
Oh, I see. Okay. So there's these two that might speak out against it, and then depending on how the people feel, some people might not agree with the agreement, obviously. Do we already know a little bit about how the agreement or the lack of it, if it doesn't pass, might affect people living in Switzerland?
Yeah, but basically, the agreements are above all commercial agreements, but they also it's a stabilization of the relationship between Switzerland and the EU. Yeah, and what we can say is that if the agreements were ultimately rejected by the people, this could, for example, call into question the free movement of people. This would make it, for example, harder for Swiss people to settle and work in EU country.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And
The
it's,
lack of the agreement would affect Swiss or people living in Switzerland
yeah,
instead of things might stay more the same if the agreement is accepted.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, yeah, obviously, if it would be rejected, it could also have an impact on Swiss abroad, like
Hmm.
you, Catherine.
Like me?
Some of their rights could be challenged. For
Oh,
example, they could be excluded from certain social benefits in their country of residence in the EU. Yeah,
oh,
we
I
don't know
see.
exactly, but it
Yeah.
could have an
For
impact. Yeah,
Swiss abroad who live in an EU country, for example.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then obviously the other thing, which is a big topic, I think, in a lot of countries at the moment, is that the government wants to save money. So the
Yeah,
Swiss government, if I understand it correctly, wants to save 3.6 billion until 2027. Is that right?
yes, the government want to save 2.7 billion francs in 2027 and then 2.6 billion francs in 2028.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So these savings are intended to address the increase in military spending, which was decided by the parliament to cope with the new international security situation. Yeah, and
Okay.
the government is proposing around 60 measures.
Okay, and so what are the ones that might affect people the most?
Yeah, basically these measures affect almost all sectors except the military. And yeah, it will have a big impact, I think, on people because the social sector will be heavily impacted. For example, the government wants to cut its contribution to the funding of childcare facilities.
Oh, okay.
Or they also want to cut in climate policy, agriculture, also research. So yeah, it's quite a big deal.
Is the media affected as well?
Yes, actually, Swissinfo is directly affected because the government also wants to cut the funding it provides to Swissinfo. And as we are funded 50% by the government and 50% by the SPC, and it would means that we would lose 50% of our budget, which would likely mean the end of Swissinfo. But we hope that the parliament will not accept it.
Of course, yeah, because it's such an important thing to have English-speaking news and news in multiple languages, I think.
Yeah, it's the information channel for the Swiss abroad. This is also not a good news in the current context where the fight against fake news is
Yes.
quite an important issue. Yeah, it's definitely not a good news.
Yeah, you need this kind of central and reliable information source.
Yeah, I media in 10 languages in Switzerland. Yeah, we are the only one. So
Yes, of course. Yeah. All right, we'll be back after a really short break.
Are you interested in working in Switzerland? If so, we'd be happy to support you with that. Our team has many years' experience in the local market here and is working with some of the best-known employers in the country. We can help you to access opportunities and improve your chances of getting them. We can also guide you through the process of local registration, applying for permits, finding accommodation, and more. If you'd like to discuss further, please fill out the form at rigby.ch/apply, and then we'll be in touch when we have a requirement that might be of interest to you.
All right, we're back. So we know that Swiss people get to vote on a wide range of issues multiple times a year, about 3 or 4 times usually. Just to clarify for those people who might not yet be so familiar with this system, there are 2 types of electoral devices, right? Initiatives and referendums. What are the differences between them?
yeah, basically initiatives and referendums are both tools of direct democracy, but an initiative allows the people to request a modification of the federal constitution. It means that you have to collect 100,000 signature within 18 months. And
Okay.
then the government has to organize a popular vote. And you also have 2 types of referendum. You have a facultative referendum. It means that the people can oppose a law already adopted by the parliament. And you also have mandatory referendum. This is a popular vote which is required when parliament or the government want to amend the constitution or join an international organization such as EU or NATO.
Okay. An example of this might be this motorway referendum that took place recently. Is that right?
Yes, it's right. It was last November. And
Yes.
at the end, it was rejected by the people.
Yeah, so these referendums can have a significant impact, can't they? Because the government might want to pass something, but if the people don't agree, it can be rejected and then the change can't take place.
Yes, that's right. It gives quite a lot of power to the people.
So the basic difference is initiatives actually are initiated by the people, but referendums are initiated by the government. Is that right?
Actually, not really, because the facultative referendum can also be initiated by the people. They
Oh, I
can,
see.
with
Okay.
that oppose a law already adopted by the parliament,
Okay.
and they also have to collect a signature within a certain amount of time, and then
Yes.
the government has to organize a vote.
Okay, but that's not about any new laws. That's about a law that's already in the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, as you say, the motorway vote. It was a law proposed by the government, and then the people initiated a referendum, and then we had to vote about it.
Oh, okay, because some people thought it was a bad idea, and then they initiated a referendum for that reason.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are there any referendums coming up in the next year, so in 2025?
No, actually, it's not planned that any referendum is coming up, but there are several initiatives which have been successful.
Okay.
But
So they've collected enough votes.
yeah, they
Okay.
collected 100,000 signature within 18 months. But
Okay.
not yet sure which one will be put to vote. But
This year.
probably, yeah, this year.
Okay, so others might be put to
Sorry,
vote next year.
they will all be put to vote sometimes, but
Okay.
we don't know yet which one will be put to vote
Oh, because it
this
can
year.
take a long time.
Yeah, that's it. Because first the parliament has to debate about it and then vote, and then it goes to people.
Oh, I see. Okay. So what are some of the possible initiatives for 2025 or maybe 2026?
Maybe we will vote on fair taxes initiative.
Okay.
This is quite an important issue because the text calls for married couples to be taxed individually rather than jointly, so that they do not pay more tax than single people. Today, married couples are discriminated compared with unmarried couples
Okay.
because they pay more tax. And the government also want to solve that problem, so they support individual taxation. But the government made its own project, which is called counter proposal,
Okay.
and yeah, we will have to vote on the initiative and on the proposal of the government.
Okay. And then there's also a cash initiative, isn't there?
Yes, that's right. Basically, this cash initiative wants to ensure that coins and banknotes are always available. Yeah, the goal is actually to avoid the complete digitalization of currency.
Oh, okay. So that physical money won't completely disappear, even though it's
Yeah, that's
becoming
it.
a less large proportion of the money.
Maybe we also will have to vote about the Foie Gras initiative, which is
Okay.
quite funny, I think, because I think only the Swiss will have to vote once about foie gras.
Probably, yeah.
Uh,
So what is the issue or the topic?
yeah, so this popular initiative aims to ban the importation of foie gras and products made from foie gras, because making foie gras is not nice for animals, because you have to force feeding thousands of animals. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not ethical at all. And the Swiss Animal Alliance wants to
Mhm.
ban that product.
And there's quite strict laws about animal welfare anyway in Switzerland, so that kind
Yeah,
of goes along with that.
I think so, but I think we will have a Röstighaben, as we call it,
Oh,
because
yes.
the Swiss French people are used to eat foie gras, but I think in
Mhm.
the Swiss German part, nobody is eating foie gras, or less people. So I think they won't mind if it's banned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, in Swiss French part of Switzerland, we have more like this French culture, and
Yes.
it's like a tradition to eat, for example, for Christmas.
Oh, I
It will
see.
be difficult to renounce
Yeah.
eating
Or
program
to
to
convince people to vote for this. But I suppose since the French-speaking part is much smaller than the German-speaking part of Switzerland, maybe
yeah,
the initiative does have a chance.
yeah, I think so.
Let's see. We'll find out.
We also will maybe vote about fireworks,
Oh, okay.
which is also quite funny. It's a text which proposes to ban the sale and use of fireworks.
By
Because
individuals or like by in the whole country?
I mean, in the whole country, but also the use by individuals. Like,
Okay.
I think it's a former journalist who is behind this initiative,
Okay.
and he said that fireworks cause stress for people who are sensitive to noise, and
Mm.
also obviously for animals.
Yes, so farm
But yeah,
animals and pets and yeah.
yeah, I think it will be quite difficult to convince people to say yes to this initiative, because Switzerland is very liberal country and people don't like when something is banned.
Yeah, it's a big thing to ban, I think, because on the National Day, 1st of August, it's such a tradition to use fireworks. So
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some kind of middle way where you could allow it maybe for very short periods of time, like the week of 1st of August or something. Because, for example, here in England where I live, we have fireworks for months and months in the autumn, and it is a bit excessive. So maybe limiting the time or something like that could be more sensible.
Yeah, maybe, but I have to say that in the last year there have been also less fireworks, because a lot of city are now doing a drone show instead of
Oh,
fireworks.
yes. So we have better or different technology now anyway, so it's less
Yeah,
needed.
because obviously fireworks are also not ecological,
Yeah.
and a lot of city decided to replace it by drone shows.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's an idea. So you can still have the display, but without the issues associated with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good alternative, probably.
Yeah, I think so. And so you recently held a debate on Swissinfo about Switzerland's struggling industries and whether the government should support them. Which industries are struggling in Switzerland?
Yeah, that's right. We are launching a debate on our page, and our user can contribute to it. So we
Mhm.
launched a debate about this topic, and yeah, that's right, that Swiss industry is going through a difficult period. The manufacturing industry is clearly the sector experiencing the most difficulties, basically because the Swiss economy generates more than 1 in 3 Swiss francs abroad, which
Okay.
means that Swiss economy is quite vulnerable to geopolitical changes.
Mhm.
Also, one of the reasons for these problems is obviously the strength of the Swiss franc,
Yes.
and decrease in European demand plays a role in that as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, especially with the strong Swiss franc, that it would become more difficult to maintain the price.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah. And one of the industry which is suffering a lot is, for example, the steel industry,
Okay, yeah.
which is in deep crisis. The country's last two steel works are facing big difficulties, and last year they announced major job cuts.
Okay.
So yeah, it's quite a big deal.
And how would the government support them? So what's the idea behind this?
Yeah, to face this backdrop, some people in Switzerland are calling for government intervention. But Switzerland is a very liberal country and doesn't have an industrial policy.
Okay.
It means that the government normally does not support certain industries.
Okay.
But last year, the parliament voted on support measures for strategically important steel companies.
Okay.
So now they are able to benefit from these measures since the 1st of January. It means that they can be exempted from certain taxes for a period of 4 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite unusual for Switzerland to take such measures.
So the benefits, obviously, of these measures are that the industries are more likely to survive or thrive or just able to do better. But some people are actually against introducing government support. So why is that?
I'm not an expert in the field, but many experts say that protectionism is not a good solution because you basically maintaining industries that are not going well anyway. So maybe
Okay.
at the end, it's not really sustainable.
Okay. Yeah. Industries that might no longer be current in the modern world, and therefore you shouldn't artificially prop them up.
Yeah, I think that's the theory. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So people who are in favor of such measures, but obviously a lot are against it.
Right. Yeah. So it's a bit split.
Yeah.
And which sectors then are the opposite? Which ones are doing really well?
I think the situation is improving in the retail and wholesale sectors. And
Okay.
also the hotel and catering sector is going better. Business situation is improving again after the major slowdown during the pandemic.
Yes, of course. And I think there's been a lot of tourism in the last few years, right? It's recovering quite quickly.
I think this sector fully recovered the pandemic by now.
Okay.
I think
Excellent.
so.
Thank you very much for giving us all these insights. How can listeners get in touch with you if they have a question, a follow-up question, or if they just want to follow along and hear more about these topics?
They can write me an email. My email is katy.romy@swissinfo.ch. And they can also look at our article on our page. And now we have a new app which can be downloaded in the Apple Store, for example. And I can recommend it because it's very nice and you have a lot of new function.
Yeah, and just easy to access the content just from your phone or anywhere.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And then, of course, participate in the debates. That's another thing that would be a good idea.
Yeah, we have a lot of debates on our page, and we encouraging users to contribute to it because it's very interesting. It's what they said, and yeah, I can only encourage people to participate.
And you can participate in any language, right?
Yes, the good thing is you can also have an exchange with people who are speaking 10 languages because it's translated for you. So I think it's quite an interesting option.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent. All right, that's it for today. So thanks once again to our guest, Katy, for joining us.
Thank you, Katrin, for having me. It was interesting speaking to you.
And thanks to you for listening. We'll include links in the show notes to our guest and to further materials about some of the topics that we've spoken about today. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Once again, this podcast was brought to you by Rigby. We're a staffing and project services company here in Zurich. If you would like our help either to hire or to be hired, let us know. Best way to do that is by going to rigby.ch/apply and filling out the form. You can also sign up for our newsletter at rigby.ch/newsletter to receive our Living in Switzerland guide. We'll send you one email per month about expat-focused news and jobs in Switzerland. So thanks, and until the next time.